Welcome to the space where creators have aligned a positive and intellectual collab of open minds. For sharing and learning from one another, it's a vibe. ReadswithRosa podcast on the mic. Subscribe, educator spitting bars. I guess you didn't know I'm multifaceted and humble, checking off life goals. The classroom is my comfort zone where I plant and sow seeds of knowledge, compassion, empathy, and hope. Malo Lele, and welcome to the ReadswithRosa podcast. I'm so excited to introduce today's guest. I know I say that every week. I'm so excited, but I truly am. Today, we have here with us a very good friend of mine, a Tongan sister. She is an educator. I call her a fashionista. She's a creative. Amelia Ahosivi. Welcome to the show, sis.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here. So honored to be here.
I was going to say your middle name, but I knew I would pick it. So I was like, don't box it, Rosa. Don't say How do you say your middle name, sis?
So my middle name is pronounced Duakilaumea.
Duakilaumea.
Yes.
I know there's a story to that name. Can you tell us a little bit about the significance or the origin of your last name? Your first name and your whole name, because I know there's a story to it. I remember you've told me before, but I'm sure the audience would want to hear.
Wait, just a short story, but in my family, there's 6 of us. So, in the Tongan culture, all the kids are named after, are named by my dad's side of the family. So my mother and father had my 2 older brothers, and then they had me, a girl, and then my mum's auntie was like, hold on, we have to name her because you might stop at 3. She'll, the child number 3. And then, so that auntie, my great auntie, she named me after a friend of hers, but like an English name, Amelia. So a very good friend of hers in Tonga. And then, so she got to name me Amelia. But the middle name is of a person in my dad's village, a noble person. His name is Duakilaumea. So that's where I got that middle name. And then when I asked my mum, what does it mean? She goes, oh, you have to ask your dad's side of the family. I go, what? So that's all I know. That's all I got to give. So I really have to ask my dad's side of the family, hey, do you know what this middle name means? Like, for real?
maybe later on in the year we can do a part 2 just so we can find out what your research got you to. So you mentioned your family, your parents. You were born in New Zealand. Were all of you and your siblings born in New Zealand, or were some of them born in Tonga or in Tonga?
Oh, Tonga? No, yeah, we were all born in New Zealand. We're all born and raised in Onehunga. Like the 3 of us, the 3 oldest in Onehunga, and then the rest of us were all born around Ellerslie, Mount Wellington. So we're just born and raised around there. So our first language growing up, because of that great auntie, we spoke Tongan a lot. So I think when we were little, our Tongan was really good. And then when she passed away, wild, just English at home. And, you would have our parents trying to, because they want to communicate with us, with their understanding, they thought speaking to us in English was the best thing. But, but they'd speak to us in broken English. So it was kind of like, it was so interesting where we kind of lost our language. But then I still kept it because I'm just like eavesdropping, listening to what my mum and dad are talking about, to their friends. So I think I kept that because of that. And then I continued to study that myself when I went to university, and I thought I'd be really good at, getting high grades because I thought I'm really good at, oh man, no way.
It's challenging, right?
It's so challenging. I thought I'll ace it, but it's hard. And that's where I learned how to read Tongan, like going to study it and then actually reading the Tongan Bible. Like,
Same with us, Samoan Bible. That's where you learn.
I was just blown away. I went, oh my gosh, this I really appreciate, my language because of that experience. So I think I just kept it, try to speak Tongan as much as I can with other Tongans. But, you don't get, you can have the chance to speak Tongan in Japan to other Tongans, but when I try to speak to them, they speak back to me in English.
Yes, it's like the Samoans here. Like the Samoans here, like you said, it's just like I love when we have those gatherings, we get together while pre-COVID, and every time I see a Samoan, you can hear me. I'm always trying to like throw Samoan in there, speak our language, but they're always like speaking to me in English, and I'm just like, why? Because it's like you said, right? Just trying to keep it going and hold on to that language. It's so important.
Always trying to connect. I'm always trying to find, like, oh, you're Tongan, I'm Tongan too. And then, I'll say malolele, and then they'll speak back to me in English or Japanese because, a lot of the Tongans that I've met here have come from Tonga to Japan on scholarship. So that'll be their second language would be Japanese. And I'm like, oh, you want to speak to me in Tongan? Quiet.
Right. So that's a lot of that, because you mentioned it. There are a lot of rugby players here, from like Fiji, from Tonga, who they come here on scholarships, to play rugby here in the university competition, right? And then some of them stay on and have families here. So you're always guaranteed to see some brown faces around here, which is it's pretty cool, right?
Yeah, they're everywhere. So people don't understand how many Polynesians are living in Japan. There's so many.
And so how long you've lived in Japan for a while now? How long have you lived in Japan?
13 years, and June this year it'll be 14 years.
Wow, but time flies, right? Like, where does the time go, right? Yes. And like, what has kept you here for so long? What is it about Japan that keeps you here, that you love so much? What can you like share a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think what keeps me here is like, being independent, learning on my own. Don't get me wrong, I love my family. I can't do, anything without my family. I need, and my faith is what keeps me going here. But in order to grow as a person, I need to do these things all on my own. Like I realized that I think I realized that when I was little, like growing up, my mum and dad knew I was a little bit different. Just the way I want to do things the other way, or, go this other path, always trying things. But what's kept me here longer is just, being independent, being more reliant on God, first thing. And then just like growing as a person, trying things, like, man, you come from a big island family, man, you're always surrounded by family or you're living with family. Here, man, you have to learn to like live on your own. It's not an English speaking country. It's all in Japanese. Right. You got to learn how to pay your bills on your own, like go to the city hall, set up things on your own. Just, basic things we take for granted because it's not in English. Man, you just learn to grow so much doing things here. That's what kept me so long in Japan, is just that freedom, and they're so friendly here. And safety as a woman, like I can go out, come home late at night from, going out having dinner with friends and not even have to think twice about my safety. I can just walk from the station home and don't even have to think about, oh no, I have to be careful. No, it's really safe here. Yeah, I think that's what's kept me here long, is just being able to grow, on my own.
I think it's important that you mention that, because I just say it's learning how to be an adult. Like basically, like it's like coming to Japan was like adulting, like learning how to be an adult, meaning like exactly what you said, like going in and learn. Because I think, don't get me wrong, I think a lot of people just say, oh yeah, it's Japan, there's a lot of islanders there, but you alluded to it, the fact that English is not the first language. Japanese, you have to like, obviously in Tokyo there's a lot of signage and everything like that, in English, it's like English, Japanese, as well as Korean
Yeah.
and Chinese. But you really do need to learn. You got to go to the bank. You got to go to the
Oh,
post office. You got to learn, all that adulting stuff, right? Like learning
yes,
how to be an adult. And
yes,
because it's Japanese, you have to
yep.
learn. So I think when people say, "Oh, but there are a lot of islanders in Japan," it's like, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
However, you
but
do need to learn, you know, like going to get a license, going to city
yep,
hall, like all that kind of stuff, right? Because
yeah,
even though there's signage everywhere, and I mean, when we
yep,
go to restaurants and stuff, it's pretty good where they can give
yep,
you an English menu, but
yep,
those adult things where you got to learn how to survive and live,
yes,
like paying bills and things on time.
yep.
I mean, that's adulting.
Math, yes, adulting, but we're doing all this adulting,
Like learning
a
how to live
non-English
and survive.
speaking country. Yes,
Exactly.
that's the other challenge. That's what I loved about it. That
Mm,
challenges me, like doing those things
mm,
so differently. And I just imagine myself because I admire that because I just imagine when my parents came to New Zealand to live
mm.
and their English level, man. Oh, my poor parents, so young and just, their English was so little. But look how much they try to survive and,
Right.
bring have children in New Zealand, but
Mm,
English was just so little. Like my mum still speaks the same from when she first came
mm.
to New Zealand. But man, she learned to adult too, away
Yeah.
from the islands, away from
Away
the
from the
safety of a
village
family.
collective,
Yeah,
the ainga,
yeah,
like,
yes. Yep.
yeah.
And then she built her own village, her own family in New Zealand. So
Mm,
I feel that I've done that here in Japan too, in Tokyo. Like,
mm,
over the 13, 14 years this year that I've lived here, oh man, I've built my own ainga, my family here, my own whānau
yeah.
in Tokyo, Japan, minus the children and the husband. But family is like, your friends, the
Yeah.
relationships that you've built. Oh man, it's been a journey. It's
Mm.
so cool. Yeah, I've loved every moment of it.
So just thinking about the years that you've spent here, I'm sure that you've done a whole lot of traveling all over Japan. But what would you say is probably like your most favorite place
Yep,
that you've visited, city or prefecture that you've visited here in Japan?
yep. Okay, so I'm going to share two places.
Okay.
So my first is actually I really love Guma,
Oh,
Prefecture Guma,
right, right.
Guma, Takasaki. I lived in the city Takasaki because I lived there for 2 years.
Mm,
And that's where I say, because it's 2 hours away from Tokyo.
mm,
So this is where I can truly say where I started to learn Japanese and really get into the culture and really talk to the people, because it's so different in Tokyo, because I think it's very, diverse. It's mixed.
mm.
Everybody in Tokyo wants to speak to you in English.
Right, right.
So it's very easy to live in Tokyo. But
Mm,
when I lived in the countryside in Guma, I love Guma because um, I realized, oh my gosh, it's not like Tokyo. You really have to start talking to people. You
right.
can't walk and catch the train because everybody is driving their cars. You need a car to get around. So I
Mm,
was lucky to have a car. But I loved Guma because of the nature
mm,
and, the people, the food. And this is where I really started to learn Japanese because,
mm,
man, everybody goes home. It's not like you can hang out like Tokyo, meet people. You just
mm,
go to work and come home, watch Japanese TV. And that's why I decided I got to learn it because I can't communicate to
mm,
anybody. Like when I go to the supermarket, like I couldn't read anything, or,
mm,
people are trying to help me, but a lot of people can only
right.
speak in Japanese. So I started to go to the city hall, start learning Japanese, go to classes there. And then I met like a, Japanese teacher who really, introduced me to like Japanese culture, because
Mm,
she's from Kyoto, and she was really patient and really kind to show me, a lot more about Japanese culture. We went to Japanese tea ceremony together, you
mm.
know, like you have to sit. Why do you sit on your legs? Oh
Yeah.
man, I couldn't even get up, but
That's a
still trying
killer.
to be polite. Oh, it kills my
Right.
legs.
It's
But they
such a
could
killer.
like she's a tea ceremony, lady, and she's like trying to show me like a lot of things. Like I learned in Guma, lots of traditional Japanese things. Like she taught me, and I love the nature because it's similar to New Zealand, but it's different. So I did a lot of my hiking and my camping. Oh, man, I did all my camping and hiking in Japan, not in New Zealand.
I was
In New
going to say,
Zealand,
because I bet you didn't do it in New Zealand. I mean, I
no.
didn't. I think once I
Oh,
went on a Sunday school camp, but I never went on any school camps or anything. Wasn't
no.
allowed. Wasn't allowed to. Like not safe, like that kind of stuff. So
Oh, just all my camping and hiking was just from school. But when you finish, you take that for granted. Like being in nature, you think in New Zealand, oh, you're gonna go there next time. I did a little bit of camping and driving, but out into the countryside and stuff. But kind of stopped because I came to adults in Japan. So I formed a little good friendships in Guma with Japanese people that I didn't get a chance to do when I was living in Tokyo first. Yeah, so I just realized, oh, they really are, very kind and generous people, but very private. So you really need time to get to know them. Like I've been here for 14 years, and people think, oh, you got lots of Japanese friends. I go, oh, it's really. I do have some Japanese friends, but it takes years or time to really break through a barrier that they tend to put up because they're very private. To be friends with them. Yeah, oh man, I think I have some Japanese friends, but my very very close friends are my Japanese parents. Only because, I think because of them, they have such a open heart. It's only because they've done voluntary work in Tonga for over 20 years, because they're both dentists and they do a lot of dental work, with all the schools in Tonga. And because of that, they connect with the Tongan people. Oh, they are so open. And I can talk to them, and they know I love eating, and they don't stop me from like eating and go out to dinner. Like sometimes if you meet your Japanese friends and you're eating, you're like, oh no, I'm full, enough, but I'm really hungry. Oh, they're like so lovely and honest to me. They're like, no, you eat up. We know Tongan people love to eat. I'm like, oh, thank you. So yeah.
That's hilarious.
So Guma is the place that I love, and I think Hokkaido is, oh man, that's beautiful. Just it's funny because I choose these two places because they're similar to New Zealand.
Right.
Because they just remind me of home, and I just think, oh man, I need to go home and do some hiking and appreciate our backyard. But they're very similar to New Zealand landscape, the mountains, the nature, but very different. I think New Zealand is much more beautiful.
Okay. What's something that's been super challenging for you living here in Japan?
Oh yeah, just okay. I can think of a few things like living in Japan. In New Zealand, I didn't play sport. I only played sport up until high school, but after that, I wasn't interested in playing sports. But because living in Japan, and because, another good friend of mine who lived here, she played netball and said, oh, let's play netball with the expat community, just so we can, socialize or meet some other people. And then, okay, so I got a chance to play netball with, those people. And through this group of people, I met some other Japanese who played a netball. It was just kind of starting. So we started playing netball with them, but mixed netball. So we played with the girls and, the guys, men and women together. But then you kind of, see, when you play with Japanese people, just like, the differences between the men and women when we play together, there's still kind of like, there's a big gap. Okay, there's respect, with the men and women, but it's still like the woman, it's a big cultural difference. Still like the woman, treat her lesser than that I've noticed just having conversations, playing with these men, and hearing the conversation. They don't realize I can understand Japanese, but I can't. You know, I speak Japanese, but like the children's level. But I understand exactly what they're saying, and I'm like, oh, I can't say anything. But just the banter, and I hear the things that they say. Is, you know, you wouldn't say that if I was back home in New Zealand. Like, you know, men there, I think, you know, they have a lot more respect for women and islands,
just like, you know, sexist comments, right?
Oh my goodness. So I'm just so shocked at the commentary they still have. We're playing sports together. We're playing netball. It's like, come on, you can play our game. And then just, I just think, oh, you just let it like get on the court, throw some balls at you. Things like that. I'm just so shocked. I'm so shocked at the, you know, things that they say and talk about is still, you know, hurtful, degrading. Yeah, women. And women here kind of just bear it or laugh it off. So I still see that now after living here so many years. I think there's still a lot of work will change. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you experienced racism here in Japan?
Oh, yes, I have. And, you know, just going to some restaurants where they straight up, you know, won't serve you. And, you know, we try and ask why. Or I've been to a restaurant in Shibuya, actually. They had a sign up saying no foreigners can come into this big izakaya chain in Shibuya. So, like, things like that. In the past I have, and then the way I've learned to deal with it was just to smile and, you know, not, you know, involve in it, because not to get too involved in it, only because, you know, a lot of these things that happen to me, they're either men that have done that, or older women that I've noticed. Yeah, they're just, you know, not familiar with who I am. And it's weird because it's in, a couple of the places is from the older ladies in the center, you know, like the Japanese.
You're like cramping their style, man. You need to cut that out. Stop it, eh? you know what it is.
And I'm like, so can I come in here and have a relaxing hot bath too? Yes, I have. I've seen it. You know, they won't really say it to you, but I've seen just like
they're giving you the side eye.
Yes.
They're giving you the side eye, like, how dare this young woman come in here, try to show us something like this. That's what's up.
Hey, give me the side eye. I'm in the change room, and they give me the side eye all the way inside in the bath. And I just laugh and just smile, and I go, "Don't worry, I'll see you next time."
See you next week, same time.
Yeah.
Okay, that's funny. So I wanted to talk about New Zealand, Auckland City. That's where we're from. We're from Auckland. It's a multicultural society. There are a lot of islanders there. Just so many different cultures. It's diverse. When you go back home, like, what do you notice about Auckland that has changed? Like, because I always notice things when I go back home. So, for example, the roads have changed, but the traffic's still terrible.
Still the same.
So what? And I guess, what are some things that you find have changed quite dramatically, or have changed quite a lot from just like every time you visit home? What are some things?
Yes. So the interesting thing about me going home is I tend to go home every 2 years. It's only because I just need a little bit of a break from my family. I love my family, but I want to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Love my family, don't worry. And then, so, I've noticed, so I go home every 2 years. And I've noticed those, 2 years when I go home, there's a big change. There's a lot of change in, when I go home, because, I live in Mangere now. My family are based in Mangere now, but I've noticed so much change in Mangere, in Auckland when I go home, as in like the foods that we're selling in New Zealand. There's a lot more, diversity. There's a variety of foods, but oh man, so much foods, and then I've just noticed, man, so many girls wearing so much makeup.
Oi,
Like,
sis, don't even get me started. Isn't it weird?
Yeah.
It's
so
like,
interesting.
what do you call it? I mean, you're a fashionista. Like, what's the thing that they do?
Oh man, I think it's the contouring. But I love fashion, but I can't even contour my face.
Contouring, right?
Well,
can you tell I didn't do makeup? I didn't even know the lingo. I didn't even know the lingo.
Beautiful. Me too. I'm like, oh man, I'm right behind you. Like, I'm just like basics, but you know, I've noticed that the makeup, I go, wow, like people are, you know, who are working just in the cafes, everything. A lot of people are really into this contouring makeup where they look very different. And I just think, oh my God, I love a bit of, you know, mascara, you know, eyeshadow, makeup, but you know, it's okay. You can wear makeup. But I just think I love looking, you know, as I get older, I love looking like my mum and dad. I'm looking more and more like I'm acting more and more like my mother. Hard face, but I love, you know, seeing, you know, the face, you know, my mum and dad's face, you know, like I appreciate more looking like my parents, and I don't want to cover that up so much where I look like a different person. You know, that's what I've noticed is I'm so shocked to see so many girls, younger girls, into the makeup and, you know, just looking heavily influenced by the American culture. I see that. And then just, like you said, the roads, transport, always fixing this and that, but the traffic is still very bad.
Horrible, man. That's what, you know, I see people on the stories posting their like dramatic like traffic stories, and I'm like evil as laugh on this end of the story. I'm like, I do not miss that, you know, like that's definitely one thing about Auckland.
Yeah.
You know, when you live here and transport's so convenient, public transport, and then you go there and it's like a lot of like road rage, people's like driving. Like, I hate driving there. I just find that people are super impatient. Maybe this is like West Auckland. I don't know.
So that's what I've noticed. Okay, so back home is this. I've just noticed because, you know, visually that's the first thing I come into the airport and just everybody that's serving or, you know, that I meet with this new face, like the makeup is so strong, and I go, oh, so I see that. And then just, you know, a lot of, you know, back home we still have the family things, but I've just noticed that the family events or the birthdays have gone a lot more extravagant.
Oi,
and I go, Roses, I had a backyard 21st. The reason why I think we've become more like that, or for me personally, is, you know, when you live away from home, being an islander, I've lived here for 13, 14 years. I still help my family out. Like, I'm not here to have fun, travel the world, and just me.
No, that's what Palangi people do. That's what DC people do. We don't do that. Tell it. You know how it is.
No, it's sort of, you know, like, okay, I'm here and I'm growing and learning and, you know, doing what I can. But I still help my family when need be. Like, I still remember my roots. I still know that I've got to help my family. And living here for 13, 14 years, I've seen the fruits of that. And whereas in my family are able to, you know, flourish from the support, they can do things. And then that's why I'm always looking back, you know, like if my family go out eating to cafe, and I'm always saying to them, can you just go supermarket and cook at home? It's healthier for you. Just because, you know, I just believe like you can, you know, spend your money elsewhere and more in things that'll benefit you in the long run, rather than just, you know, you know, taking a snap of that expensive $30 cafe meal for the Instagram. Oh my goodness, really. It's funny because, you know, when I moved away all those years, and then I remember my mum always asking me, do you want to bring like a fala or a big tapa cloth so you can hang it on your wall? But, you know, like in the beginning, because you're overwhelmed coming a new country, you want to learn the culture. And I said, no, I don't need it. man. And, when I try to ask for it now, my mum says to me, I already given it away. You missed out.
It's like,
And
you
I
missed the bus, man.
And you know what? And I'm like, oh my gosh. So
Mm.
it's so crazy because, you want to have those things with you. Whereas I've just learned to create things to make that remind me of home, like that I keep with me, and all the little, bags that, like the Tongan
I
fans.
can see your Tongan fans behind you, sis.
Those are the things that my friends have given me, family and friends, and oh man, they're the most precious things I have, that I realize, oh man, that's part of me. Or like I'm always like creating or making things, just thinking all the time, like on the back, this is my workboard, that I love to put images that are really important to me. Or like in the background there's a poi, Māori poi, but that's part of like when I came to Japan and I met a lot of Māoris living here in Japan, where I became good friends with them, and they were part of like a Māori performance group here called Ngā Haue Whā, where I was drawn to that because it reminded me of home and the friendships that I made where I joined it. So that's really important for me because it's played a role in my journey, living here. It's so cool. It's so important to me. Like I realized, oh, Mum, I want that mat or that piece of tapa now. It's so important. You don't realize the importance and value till you live away from home. It's so important. Yeah.
And I think also that it's just sometimes when you do live at home, then it's we take for granted the storytelling, our oral traditions and things that are passed down like orally and
your parents, and how your parents, how they work so hard for you. You don't see it. You don't see it now until like you move away from home, or it's too late when your parent passes away. That's when you realize, all these lessons,
And so, you as I mentioned in the introduction, you are an educator. I mean, fellow educator. What has your journey been like? Because you teach in kindergarten, like early child kindergarten, right? Early childhood.
Yes.
So what's your journey been like? Since coming to Japan and taking on that role as an educator with young, Japanese children.
Yes. So my background is in fine arts. So I went to university. I went to Elam School of Fine Arts. So it's so interesting because, I was I loved it. I wanted to go to art school. That was my plan. My plan was to be an artist, to live, breathe, work as an artist. But so different being a, Tongan Island woman being an artist.
People are like, you're what? You're not going to be. Who do you think you are?
just there's so much things that come with that, being an island woman. When you're an artist, you can't just be an artist by yourself and remove yourself from your family.
It's like no such thing.
Oh, no such thing. So it's sort of like, I went to art school. That's my dream, because I remember my dad, when he asked me, he goes, will you be all right? Is this what you want to do? And I said to my dad, don't worry, I'll be okay, Dad. This is what I love. And he stopped asking me. Whereas my mum in the background, she's saying to me, you want to be a air hostess? You want to go and work? She wants me to work or do something else. She just didn't want me to, go this path. But things changed when my first year of uni, my father passed away. So it really changed and put things into perspective for me, because, then I had to like help and support my family and put art, in the background. My family was my number one. So I decided, because of the experiences, in art school and education, but there's some good lecturers that I had in art school, I decided to take the teaching route. But, like I was still grieving or still hurt from when my dad passed away. A lot of my artwork that I was making was more to do with my father and my family, grieving, like that grieving. I think it takes a while to like get over it. So I decided to, just a lot of things, my perspective changed and trying to be a artist by myself.
I had other plans.
Yeah, no, I just sort of to grow. If anything, I needed to grow, grow. And then there was an opportunity for me. Like I started doing my grad diploma in teaching, but I decided to stop that because I want to leave the country. When so many things, you want to see the world, you want to just have a break from your family, all these things are going through your head. Like, I want to grow, I need to learn, I need to, get away from here. This opportunity came up for me to come to Japan. So I applied, like, not with the JET program because I want to be in Tokyo with teaching like adults. That's how I ended up in Tokyo, because I applied, for a job myself and just came. And then it was funny because my mum was so upset because, as an island girl, Tongan girl, you don't leave home till you're married. And my mum, she was going, why are you leaving? And I said, I just want to try. I need to do this. And, she was saying, oh, you're not even getting married. And I said, but I want to try on my own, Mum. I'll be okay. And then, she couldn't stop me from going. But, she realizes, like, I had to do this on my own. And my relationship with my mum is a lot more stronger and better because I grew away. Because, when my dad passed away and growing up with my mum was really, our relation, I guess because we're similar, so we butt heads a lot, But because I grew away and then I can see things from her point of view, oh man, I have a lot more patience and understanding for the way she views things, and I'll just listen to her, let it all out, and we can have a good laugh instead of trying to argue, getting nowhere because we're both similar. But yeah, that's my journey. That's how I came into Japan. And then just like from that experience, I just decided, oh man, I love teaching children. I have a lot more patience and understanding for children because I can't teach adults or I can't teach teenagers. I love them, but I think my limit is 13. From 3-year-olds up until 13. That's my favorite, age group. Oh, I love it. I love it. It's children have taught me a lot. My patience and just like, man, they're clever. Children are so clever,
Absolutely.
And it's so different because, in teaching, I can use my art or, my creative side, in those areas and everything that I do, with the artwork I do with the children or, the way I'm, everything I do when I play them outside, indoor play, outdoor play, and the artwork and performances, that's where I can put my creative side that I feel more passionate about, rather than trying to be a artist, like the Western concept of being an artist, it's a little bit different. Yeah.
So what advice, so with your journey,
yes,
and then getting into early childhood here, like what advice would you give someone that was back home, I guess, perhaps listening to the podcast and, trying to figure out, what is the next step for me? Should I try out Japan? Should I go into teaching? Like, what advice would you give them?
Oh man, my number one advice is I'd advise them to leave home.
Just leave home. There you go, folks. That's the mic drop. Leave home.
Leave home. I just feel it's so important. Even if you're, if you're thinking of studying, if you have an opportunity to study elsewhere other than Auckland, even if it's still in New Zealand, if you can go Waikato, if you can go down to the South Island, Otago, it's the best thing. Just because you can grow outside. Oh, I love my family. You love your family and everything, but man, you're your own person too. You have your own ideas, and you'll flourish more if you leave home. So important. You can always go back to family, man. They're there. But I think it's so important for you to like leave the nest. Island people, we're such a family orientated, we're village
people.
Oh, village people, man. You don't. But I go, you can create this village to be much stronger if you support your children and your, you know, brothers and sisters to leave home, because man, that village will become a lot more stronger. You know, the support is still there because, you know, mum and dad have done their job. They've supported you, and you always remember what they've taught you, and, you know, your uncle and aunties or your cousins. Man, it's so cool. But leave home. It's so cool. It's scary, but oh man, it's the best thing for you. You know, I was scared, but oh man, it was good. But I loved it.
And look how you know how you've evolved as an educator, as a woman, and growing throughout the years. I mean, I think that's super dope, because it's like, if you don't do it, you will never know.
No.
I wanted to ask, like, how do you look after yourself in terms of like self-care? You know, I talk about self-care in every episode because it's so important. You know, a lot of, you know, the people that I've brought on the show, like, you know, whether they're a creative and, you know, doing music or in the industry or as educators, like I just feel whatever it is that you're doing, like there needs to be a part where you're just taking time for yourself. And like, I know when I need something, you're super supportive. And we always have a lot of, you know, really cool chats and stuff. But, you know, like, when you're not looking after everyone around you, you know, in our group and stuff, like, what do you like to do for you that doesn't involve anyone, but it's really about like your mental health and well-being?
Yes. So what's important for me now that I realize, you know, after last year's COVID and everything, just to slow down and just to stop and just to get off. For me, I need to get off my social media, because, you know, people there are still messaging me, and I like to reply because, you know, I like to help people and, you know, answer all their questions. But I need to like completely cut off from that and then look after myself, as in like eat some delicious food, you know, eat some delicious food that's nutritious, and it's like good for me, for my energy, that'll get me up, you know, some really good food that'll just, you know, get my energy levels up. And sleep, I need sleep. Sleep, get off the social media, eat some good food. And for me, to start off my day, that I find that's really important for me is my time with God. That's how I start my day. And then I love reading. I do like to read, but just a lot of random books and things.
Nothing wrong with that.
Oh man, I love reading and just quiet time, just switch off from the world, get off my phone, get off social media, you know. And I love hiking. I love to hike, just to be in nature. And it's just nice to get away from the city a little bit. And I love going sento and onsen.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's cool. And, you know, and I think, like you said, and I've actually seen you this year just with your little challenges that you've been doing for yourself, like staying off social media. I mean, I'm definitely one of those too. Like, I will just, you know, sometimes I just need to like just get off, you know, like I try not to spend a lot of time on there. Like, you know me, I set my sleep alarm to a certain time. And, you know, sometimes when I forget to put my phone on Do Not Disturb, and I get super annoyed with myself, because then I'm already kind of like drifting off to sleep, and then I can hear my phone going off, and then I'm like, ugh. But yeah, I think definitely setting that Do Not Disturb for me, you know, when we go out and stuff, and I'm like 7:30, I'm already yawning, and everyone's like, bro, what's up with you? And I'm like, it's my bedtime, because I got to get those 8 hours sleep, man.
When we're at dinner.
I'm like, sorry, my bad. Like, my watch is telling me it's time to sleep, but like, it's been super helpful. But I think the last 2 months or so, I've been like, as we're getting closer to summer break and knowing that I'm going home, but still the uncertainty with COVID and all that, like, I have not been getting much sleep because I'm so anxious and worried and that kind of stuff. Like, even though I've set my Do Not Disturb, like, I will be okay, the phone beeps, go to sleep, but I could be lying there for ages just thinking, okay, what am I doing? The last 2 months, I've been just super like stressed about that, and just counting down to June. And
Oh wow.
but I think, I love that you've been super like disciplined in what you've been doing this year. So it's like, I gotta get back on that buzz, man.
It's so important. It's so important because it makes, like I actually have time to do some art stuff that I like creating or doing for myself, because I can't get the tapa from my mum, so I'm gonna make my own.
Gotta
things
do
like
it,
that.
sis. You're creative,
I can do it.
You can do it. I know exactly you're thinking, and you're.
Yes,
I see.
And that's why I have to.
You.
That's why I have to switch off these social media, because it takes up a lot of your time that could be spent on something that I love, and I love doing, art related things. So I want to create my own artwork pieces of works I can hang on the wall, gift to people, things that I think I started in New Zealand when I was creating artwork. Like, it just feels like there's a lot of unfinished work that I need to do. But
awesome.
that's why I need to cut off from these things. Just, I think me time is really important. And as island people, island women, we tend to give. We forget about, yourself. Sometimes it's like, sometimes it's just nice, take care of yourself, because you're just more effective,
Well, I mean, I think definitely for me, like, creating has been super therapeutic. Like, I just, like, creating has, like, I'm not really like, I don't know, like, I guess it's always been there, like music, performing, all of that, right? It's always just kind of like, it's just what we do. But it's never been like, unlike my brothers who are just super, super talented. Like, for me, I'm just kind of like, it's what we do.
And you are too. Look,
but then
these,
these
series are created by you. Oh my
but
goodness.
then, creating that, like, I don't know what happened over Christmas. I just got super inspired, and then I just started seeing, like, I just started doodling in the notebook. And
you inspired me, and I just went, "What's this? You can't like, I'm just super inspired by you." I go, "Whoa!" It's infectious. I love it. You know what I mean? It's like, man, really, God did not make any mistakes creating us.
And then always straight up, and then of course our friend Yoko. Shout out to Yoko, who's also a creative. Like, just the fact that just. That's what I love is just you guys inspire me. You guys are all passionate about so many different things, and that to me is super inspirational. And that's why I was like, I gotta get you on the show, because I think we chat all the time. This is just us kind of like talanoa, but I think we've also had a lot of conversation, like deep, meaningful conversations, like really about reflection and I guess the life journey. And so I was just like, I think that the stories that you've shared today on the show, like, those are stories that can resonate. It's with any generation. Like, I feel like as islanders, like, it's important that we share our stories, because there are not many of us out there just sharing. It's we kind of like just keep it to ourselves. And it's nice to
and it's nice to talk to other, island women about, like, your dreams and goals, so we can encourage each other, push ourselves, in the right direction. And I love it because, we've started to talk more about it, and it's like, oh my gosh, I love this stuff. Thank you, Rosa. It's so cool. Yeah, I love it. I love your creations. It's so beautiful.
I appreciate the support. Like, it was so funny because you kind of, the thing with when you're creating things and you're trying to build something, a small business, there's always doubt, right? Because I'm thinking, like, when I look at colors, I see things a certain way, but it's hard for me to figure out how will people see what I see in these color combinations. And so that's why if you look at what I've done, there's no real, like, I haven't really figured out my signature
Yeah.
design. I'm just kind of like, whatever I'm feeling on the day, that's what I
This is
make.
exactly it. But this is exactly it, Rosa, with like, you know, with your art, your designs. I don't think you can really confine it. You got to let it like flow. This is exactly it. You said whatever you're feeling at the time.
It's all about
That's
the
how
mood and emotion.
Yes, this
Like,
mood, emotions, because it's so important and it's so
crazy.
crazy, you know, because out of that comes this beautiful, you know, artwork. That's just the same, the way we carry ourselves, the way we dress, and that it depends on the mood.
Yeah,
You know, how we're feeling.
Stop right there, because I need to touch upon this before I forget. So just for all the audience, for our audience who are listening or watching, I actually call Amelia, she's like the islander Audrey Hepburn. Like, she's like, here's the thing, like, I mean, she is. I call her fashionista. She laughs. She's laughing right now. But there's just something about your sense of fashion, your taste in fashion, the trends. Whether it's because you're not really a makeup person. You always talk about very light makeup, right?
Yeah.
Very subtle but beautiful.
Yeah.
And your makeup always matches your earrings and your sneakers and your, you know, no matter, like, what is it about fashion? And like, because for me, when I see what you're wearing, like, anytime we go out, you know, I'm rocking up with my sneakers and hoodie. I'm like, yo, I can't. I'm like, I didn't even care. I'm like, hoodie, sneakers, no, let's go. But you always wear something for the occasion. Like, where does your inspiration come from? Because I can't even, like, I call you the Audrey Hepburn, the islander Audrey Hepburn, because, you know, if we're attending an event, you're super stylish, right? Like, whether you're wearing like a turtleneck and a dress, but everything is just perfectly matching. Like, what is that about you? Like, how do you, like, have you always loved fashion, or is that just the artist in you? Is that the creative side of you?
Yeah, I think it's, with me, I think it's just the creative side of me. But, you know, I think, you know, I have to say it comes from my mother too. Okay. My mother, man,
shout out to Amelia's mom.
Oh man, shout out to Narina.
What a skacks, what a skacks.
I'm telling you, because, you know, growing up, you know, we're from a big family. We didn't have much money, but my mom, man, would make any outfit, anything work, even her hair, you know, down to the, you know, not even like the makeup. It's just maybe lipstick. The way I wear it, lippy, or her earrings, or the glasses, or accessory, her high heels, but her pieces, man. Or she used to get some clothes made, or if she goes to an op shop, she loves, you know, getting pieces. And I think that's where I get that from. But it's like, you know, also that creative artist side, man. It's just that, because, you know, the way I dress, what I like, it's just, I think it's just so beautiful. You know, it's like colorful, makes me happy.
Self-expression, like,
it's totally.
Like, I didn't even think I think maybe once or twice I've seen you wear a hoodie, and yet even when you wear a hoodie, you wear it in a way that doesn't make it even look like a hoodie. And here's all of us rocking up with our hoodies and sneakers, and I'm like, how does she even do that? Like, I love it. Like,
it's just more like, you know, like, oh, maybe, you know, I read a book, I saw some colors that I like, and it's just like, oh, what do I have here? But, you know, I've just learned to, for me, as I get older, it's not even about the label or.
Yeah, because you don't really wear labels.
Yeah,
like, I don't really wear a lot of your labels. Pieces are like, it's almost like vintage, but then there are other days where it's like real sporty.
Yes.
But it's still not labels, but you just, it rocks, right? You just pull it off.
I so just like to
effortlessly.
Yes, and you know, because I do love a good bargain as well. You know, I do like, but I'm not into like buying like a label or brand, or a lot of the pieces that I've got, or it's been either given to me, or I've got it on sale, or I've seen it. Like in Japan, I've walked past the op shop, I go, whoa, that's a beautiful color. Man, so yeah, a lot of these things I've just worn because I love the colors. I love colors. And, you know, working with children, man, you have to wear lots of colors.
Like, don't want to be that boring teacher that rocks up and you're like, who is that?
You know, my little kids are like going, wow, so cool.
Yeah.
It's so cute because kids love colors, and it's such a like positive feeling to be dressing up in different colors, or it all depends on how I feel, or sometimes I'm inspired by something I've read or what I've seen, you know, and then I'll wear it. It's so cool, you know. I love dressing up. I think it's so cool.
I love it. I had to throw that in there. I was like, you're not going to get away. I'm going to chuck it in there. Favorite Tongan food that everyone needs to try. What is something that you would recommend if someone asked you, "What I want to eat Tongan food"? What would you say is this is what you've got to try? What would that be?
I'd say to try the Tongan law, because I love Tongan law. You know, it's like the taro leaf with the coconut cream and the onion and with whatever meats. Yeah, whatever meats is inside, and you bake that. Oh man, I think that's the number one, because I have very, very fond memories of that growing up, because my mother and father used to cook together when we have island gatherings, and my dad was like number one in making that. Yeah. So it's so crazy. Like you grow up with it and you eat it. Sometimes you're like, oh, I don't want that. I want to eat like chips, chips and pie. You know what? That's the number one. I crave this. I crave manioke, the lul, the taro. Yes. Like I crave that so much, like raw fish. Like I so wish I ate that more. But that's the number one food that I think everyone should try. Is
you heard it here. There you go. Go check out. Go ask in your neighborhood, wherever you are in the world. Try and get some Tongan food, man. I'm going to find someone who can cook that for me.
Wait, hey, get the Tongan. But it's even nicer if it's a guy who can cook it, because man, just like my dad, I'm looking for a guy.
Is there any Tongan guys listening?
Any guy would be good.
Oh, sorry, any guy. What's the best compliment you've ever received? Best compliment you've ever received?
Oh, just from I don't think there ever has been like a number one compliment, but I just think the most positive and nicest compliment is like somebody complimenting me on my style or my positivity, you know, like they're just so happy that I'm just so happy, and that'll, you know, that it encourages them to be happy and to, you know, be positive despite their circumstances. So for me, it's just like the smile. That's all. Is just like smiling. The smile has been like my number one compliment. Is like people, you know, teachers or parents come up to me and just like, oh, you're such a happy person. The smile has been like a cool thing. But I just think the smile is so beautiful on a person.
Yeah. And a smile can change someone's day.
Oh my gosh, it's so nice. Yeah, I think a smile is so important.
Okay, if you had a superhero power, what would it be?
Oh man, I've thought of this question before too.
You're like, because she better ask me this question.
You know, I don't know why, because I think I've spoken to like some friends who into the Marvel comics and books, and you know, they've asked me this, and I've straight away said, running fast. So I can get errands done for me. So I can get errands done, and I can run all around the country, you know, like I think for me is the speed. I think speed is cool. Basic, but I just think I get a lot of things done.
What's one Japanese food that you can never bring yourself to eat?
You know, I can eat almost everything except, oh man, Goya. You know Goya?
Goya? What's Goya?
It looks like a cucumber, but it's like Goya.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
You know, I don't know what it's called in English. Yeah. You know, Goya,
I don't know what it's called in English either.
Yeah, but it's like a, you know, it looks like a cucumber, but it's a little bit bumpy all around.
You don't eat
it's a little bit bigger. You know, I can eat it, but it's the last on my list. Do you know why? To me, it just feels like we're eating a plant, not a vegetable. It's the most annoying thing. It's not even tasty. It's not, to me, because I love eating vegetables, but man, that's one thing that's really, I will eat it, but I think that's the last on my list. I'll eat. You know, if it's there, I can eat it, but it will be like the last thing on my plate that I'll eat. But I'll eat it because I don't like to waste food. And man, but natto I love. So
oh my gosh, like I've eaten it. You know, it's it's a quiet taste. Like I've eaten it, but if I can avoid it, I'm gonna avoid it. Like, you know, it's just like like I will eat it if I have to, but otherwise, hell no.
To me, you know, because I love beans. Baked beans. Oh, baked beans totally different.
I do too, but that fermented soybean and it's like gooey. Oh,
yeah.
Nah.
I think that's what people can't get over. It's that gooey texture. So,
and then
but I can get past that. I love it. I can eat that. Like, I love natto, man.
Which is more difficult for you to give up, coffee or alcohol?
Coffee. Alcohol I can give up because I don't know what it is, because, you know, in Japan, alcohol is so cheap. It's not like we're missing out. So I feel like I can give that up easy. But man, I think coffee is one thing. It's really hard. Like I'm trying to like cut down or have only like twice a week, but I've had it every morning. Coffee is so yummy, especially if it's in Japan. And it's so weird because I picked up drinking coffee in Japan, not in New Zealand.
Well, you know what's hilarious is like, I mean, I'm not a Starbucks person. Like, I'm really not a cafe kind of like, let's hang out at the cafe person. But, you know, like people always talk at work like, oh, what's your favorite Starbucks? And I'm stupid. Like I honestly just sit there like smiling, like nodding to the conversation, hoping they don't ask me as they're going around, because I didn't even know. Like I wouldn't even. And actually, someone asked me a few days ago, because this teacher likes to go to Starbucks, and he was like, "Next time we have a meeting, I'll pick you up something. What do you want?" And I was just like,
"What do they have?"
I was like, "Oh nah, bro, I'm all good." And he goes, "Oh no, it's fine." And I was like, tea? I was like, is there some kind of a tea? And he goes, tea? And I go, cappuccino or something? Like I'm stupid. Like I didn't know anything about Starbucks.
You know what's so special about Starbucks in Japan? Another friend told me, because I'm not a Starbucks fan, but everyone in Japan loves Starbucks. You know that, eh? Oh man, they're so big fans of Starbucks here.
I know,
but
it's crazy.
My friend said the difference with the Starbucks in Japan is, you know how in Japan we have the 4 seasons?
Oh yeah, because there's seasonal drinks, right?
It's only these seasonal products are only special to Japan. They don't do that in the Starbucks in the States. That's why it's kind of special. You know,
good point.
You know, in Tokyo we live in the small apartments, so everybody loves to go and hang out in Starbucks.
Because
it's got that lounge feel, bigger couches. It just makes it more.
I've been there. Like I've been there. I think like just a few times, and people will be like, "What do you want?" And the first thing I always see is like something frappuccino. And I'm like, that. And they're like, which one? And I'm like looking really quickly, like acting like I know exactly what they're talking about, but really I'm like stupid ass, don't even know. So like,
no man,
clueless.
But it's we have one at my station. And it's so funny because it's sort of like, oh, what's the drink? What's the special drink? But if it's something that I haven't tried or seen before, I want to try it because it looks interesting. But they're more or less, they're delicious. You should try it. But wait for the summer one. What's coming out?
Actually, it's interesting that you mentioned that, because that's the cool thing about Japan is, you know, fruits are seasonal, vegetable, everything is seasonal.
Everything is seasonal.
Snacks. Like when you're walking into the supermarket or into the convenience store, like for example, like chocolate mints. Like I love chocolate mint.
That's a summer thing.
Right, and so we know, like right now, that soon, like the strawberry is nearly done because of spring. But soon you're going to be able to find so many different, really cool things that have chocolate mint in it. Oh my god, I'm such a sucker for it. It's so bad.
Yeah, but it's so good. I think I've tried everything in the convenience store.
It's but gotta
so
love
good.
Japan. Like that kind of stuff is like I love it. That's how you
Same.
know the seasons are changing, the months are
Yep.
changing by
The food.
the product, and even
Yep.
even
Food
the
and
drinks and tea
Yep.
is seasonal. The
Yep.
different types of barley tea. Oh,
Yep.
I love barley tea, so it's
So good.
so good.
That's why I love living here, because the food is so cheap. So yummy.
Know, right?
So good. It's cheap and it's so delicious.
You can get like such a good, like you can get a good meal for like $10, right?
Yes.
That has everything: the soup, the veggies, the main meal, with some green tea, you know. And if you're a drinker, like we're not heavy drinkers, but for those who are heavy drinkers, it's even cheap to drink. You can get, or you can drink for 1,000 yen. That's $10. You know what I mean?
Man.
And as islanders, we're super cheap, man. That's how we roll. Always looking for like
bargain.
Or the bargains, man. Because we got people we got to look after back home, man. That's how we roll. It's not about us. We're not here. It's not about us.
No, man, it's not about us.
Books. You mentioned earlier you love to read, and actually, this year you've actually done a lot of reading. Like you're always sharing. Oh, I read this. Have you read this?
Yes.
And for me, I get super excited when friends are like, I'm reading this, I'm reading that, because I'm like, yay, okay, that's what's up. Book recommendations. What would you recommend?
Okay, so the first book that I want to recommend that I have here physically, because I've lived in Japan, for over 10 years, because I've moved maybe 3 times, three or four times. So I've learned to be minimal, or I've cut down, or I've given away so many of my books where, I've just kind of moved to more digital. But these books I've kept at home because I can't part with it yet. But the first book I want to recommend is actually a manga. Can you see that?
Ooh.
Vagabond. Oh, I highly recommend this. This is for our adult readers. But the interesting thing about this, how I came across this, was maybe last year I was in Shinjuku walking past in Shinjuku JR line. There was this massive billboard with this artist's work on it. This is so this Vagabond is by Takehiko Inoue. He's written the story and he does the artwork. But his artwork that he had on that massive billboard, man, it was so big, but it was like a basketball player, in this sort of same style as this. And this is what caught my attention, because it wasn't like in traditional Japanese clothing. It was like a basketball player. And I took that photo because I was thinking, wow, they're so different. What is this manga about? And then somebody told me that this guy's manga, he did like a famous series on that basketball, I think Basketball Diaries or something. It was on basketball. But then when I looked up, I saw that he did this series, which I was more interested in, because if you love basketball, I think you should check that out. But this was cool because it's about a samurai and his journey, and all the sword fighting. But oh man, the artwork I love is so beautiful.
Wow.
It's so graphic. But I recommend, this is the first book that I ordered, and then I read the rest. I mean, it's so long. There's over 100 series, but I read a lot of it online. But it's so good. So I recommend Vagabond. And the book that I second recommend, I love Roald Dahl.
Yes.
But I've got the book that he wrote, adult. Can you see that?
What is it called? Oh,
Uncle Oswald.
I don't think I've read that.
Oh my gosh, read this if you like. Yes. So I didn't really, growing up, I only thought Roald Dahl wrote children's
books.
But this is for adults. It's so interesting. Read this. This is so. And I found this book because I used to go to a lot of secondhand bookshops that used to be open in Tokyo, but they're all closed now because I love going to secondhand bookshops. So these are one of my treasured possessions.
Hey,
this
I'm gonna look it up.
So I recommend Roald Dahl's My Uncle Oswald. It's so interesting. It's the same, you know, his same witty humor, his use of words, his imagery is the same, but more for the adult audience. It's so funny.
Okay.
And then just like the children's book, I love Twits.
Twits, yes.
Out of all his series, Twits is the funniest for me. So for children's books, I recommend the Twits because it's just so funny. I just love the language, his humor, and I just love the illustrations by Quentin Blake are so cool. It's just every time I see this, you know, his illustrations, I just think for me it always connects me to Roald Dahl in the story. So it's so funny to have and you know the way he writes for the adult audience, and then you have the children. Nice. It's so funny. It's so funny. So that's a book that I recommend. And a book that I still have that I keep is very special is the Pavlova story.
Pavlova story. I didn't even know there was anything called a Pavlova story.
I love to hey, I do love to bake, you know.
Wait, is that the Pavlova story that how Australians always try and steal the Pavlova from New Zealanders?
Yes, that's why it's so important to read.
Okay.
So it's good to read this. A friend, this was gifted to me. It was so interesting because I do love to bake. But it's so funny. There's only like 3 things that I like to bake because I feel like I've mastered that. And I feel like I put my whole heart into just these 3 things. And I love to bake scones. Yeah. I love to bake a chocolate cake, which I've named after my sister. Yes. And
talofa cake.
And talofa cake because I've just named it after my sister because I like her name the best out of my siblings.
Shout out to
Talofa. So I think, you know, like with all this baking, I love reading cooking books as well. So this book is so interesting. And one of my other favorite books, kids' books that I love, this, can you see that?
Everyone Poops.
Yes. Have you read this?
No.
Oh my God. Well, this is interesting. You know, working in Japan with the children, oh man, I don't know what it is, but they love talking about poo. It's like, I don't know I don't know. I don't think I've ever talked about so much poo until I've come to Japan and taught here, working with kids. Even the teachers talk about it, you know, like poo this, poo that, you know, have you poo? Even the children. And this book is such a neat book for kids, like, you know, to show them that like everybody poops, animals, humans, and it's a normal thing, all part of. Oh man, it's so cool. If you haven't read it, it's so cool. The illustrations are so cool, and it's by Taro Gomi. I recommend this book.
Okay.
It's so cool.
I'm gonna look for it in our elementary school library tomorrow.
Go and have a look, and you'll love because you know how you said you love picture books. I love picture books. I love it, and this is what I miss is the library and the use. You know, going to use bookstore here in Japan or actual library because I love the children's book section. Just the illustrations and just the ideas. It's so cool, man. So this is a cool book. And the last book here I recommend, but I'm going to give this to you so you can have a look because it's for adults. This book is for adults. And this book is called No Kissing.
Why are you giving that to me? What are you talking?
You can edit it. No.
Is it a book with pictures?
Yeah, it's a book with pictures. Yes.
Okay.
And but it's more for adults. But the interesting thing is because
I don't want your R21 books. Hey, can you keep your R21 books to yourself? RAT, thank you very
much. No. Rosa, this book is interesting because I went to a book fair here in Tokyo at one of the universities, and I went there, and my friend's sister was running a booth because the artist was there. So the artist is Dominic, is this guy, Dominic Myatt. Yes. So the artist was there at this book fair where my friend's sister was hosting, and I went, oh my gosh, hello, what's this book about? I'm here to support. Oh my gosh, I just didn't expect this kind of book, but it's more for adults. It's funny.
You don't even want to know what's going through my head right now. Carry on.
No, I'll tell you a little bit, but I'll tell you a little bit. But the illustrations the guy has made are based of advertisements, dating advertisements of Craigslist. That's all. That's all I have to say.
Be funny. I can't wait.
Funny.
Sounds good. I'm intrigued.
So I'm gonna save these for you. So I'm gonna save this for you. This for you to read, and for this, I'm gonna save this. So these are my books for you.
Excited.
You have a good. Just because, do you know why I found this interesting? Is because I can't believe people advertise these sort of things.
Okay, I'm super intrigued right now. I'm like, you better bring that book on the weekend. I need to read it. I'm like, I need to know now.
It's so crazy what people put out there to advertise to go on dates, but it's even funnier the things that people write, and compared to what people imagine and will draw or visualize. So funny.
I can't wait.
It's more for the adult.
I can't wait. I'm excited, man. You've dropped so many gems, man. So many book gems. You've just shocked me so much. Carry on.
And the last, because these are my physical books that I've kept because they're so funny. And the last book that I really enjoyed was Ed Emberley's complete fun print drawing book. Okay. It's so cute. But it's so cute because it's just making like images and drawings out of your fingerprints.
Do you use that for your class?
Yes.
Yes, I can see. Okay.
Look, like that's why I bookmark some things that I've used with my kids, or I've marked off their work. Yes. So this is a book that I recommend. It's so interesting. It's so cool.
I love it.
So that's why I mean, like, I can't. There's no the reading genre. Sorry, is crazy. From from the everyone poops to this kissing. So I don't know. This is so interesting. So this is for you, and have a read. You'll be blown away. Going, I can't believe people write this.
Yeah, I'll probably have some big commentary to say about it.
Yep, it's so good.
I can't wait, man! You've dropped so many jewels and gems like roses.
So these are
not expecting that.
These are the books that I've like read, and it's sort of like impacted me, or like just my imagination. Sort of like cracks me up. Because I love humor, so I like it. It's like some humor.
I'll probably like it because my sense of humor is so whack. Like I think we get. That's why we get along, because we have like that real funny, weird ass sense of humor. But some people, they just, how you just try and joke with some people, they don't get it. And I'm like,
don't get it.
That's why we get it, because we're like that same sense of humor, like so whack. It's the best.
But the great thing about you is you can keep a straight face. Me, I can't, man. I just can't. Yeah, so those are my top book recommends.
You went above and beyond. Like, it seems like you were like waiting for a whole while there to drop those gems, man.
Okay, I'm ready to show my books. Yeah, so I do love reading, but it's like a wide range. There's like so many books. Like when I was younger, I think I loved to read Babysitter's Club and Goosebumps and a lot of romance too. Virginia Andrews. Oh my gosh. But like as I've gotten older, I'm just interested in so many things. It's so cool. But yeah, these are the books that I like to recommend.
That is awesome. I want to ask you to do like some final words of encouragement, or share some encouragement. So we'll end our show with that. But I really, before we get to that part, I mean, I feel like we could talanoa for hours. That's how we roll. But I know, you know, we've both got to prep for work tomorrow. So
Yes,
I'm going to hold you
tomorrow.
up. But you know, before I give it over to you to drop some words of wisdom, I really just want to say, like, you know, I'm so super grateful to have you in my life as some,
Yeah.
you know, like you're always like, you know, like we all go through these times where, you know, struggles and stuff, but you're always
Yeah.
like a constant just real talk, and just in terms of like encouragement, and you're so supporting me with my small business, and
Oh,
you
I
know, that
love
kind
it.
of stuff, like, and even with the podcast. I mean,
I love it.
I just, you know, I didn't think you know like how much I appreciate you, and you always have some really great feedback, and I always pass that on to the, you know, you give feedback and I pass it on to the to the guests that have been on the show. But thank you so much for coming on the show, and just, I mean, we didn't even get to so many things, you know, but you shared some so many important parts of who you are, and who your family is, and just how important they are to you. So, you know, thank you for doing that. You inspire me. You know, everyone that comes on this show, the things you inspire me, you all inspire me in one way or another. And like, I do not take for granted, you know, friendship and being able to connect like this. Like, I'm super grateful you have, and it's just such an honor to just kind of officially be like, yo, you're a guest on the show. You know, it means a
Whoa.
lot to me. So I'm gonna hand it over to you, sis, to, you know, wrap it up and just drop some words of wisdom, or just,
Oh man.
yeah.
Just thank you, Rosa, for being my friend, and just like the constant like talanoa, the talk we have, you know, outside of this, because like you said, oh, it's so important to have that support. And I love it. You know, it's just ignited some, you know, things in my creative side, not to be shy and just talk about it. So important. Yeah, and I love, and it's just been awesome to come here and just to talk to you, and just all your other past guests have really inspired me. That's why I'm like, oh, I love this, because they're so different and super wonderful, intelligent, and super inspiring. So that's so wonderful. Thank you for that. And just if anything, I just like to encourage, especially island girls back home in New Zealand, if they're watching this, just to, whatever their dreams, their passions or desires, to chase it and leave home. Leave home. It's so important for your growth, because your family, your ainga, will always be there to support you all the way. And man, so much powerful. You're so much powerful when you grow, and you can bring things to the table to help support. You know, if you leave home, it'll be all right. It's a little bit scary, but everything works out. You know, your journey and everything, just follow it. When your heart says this, try it, follow it. It'll all work out okay. Everything will be okay. That's all. That's all from me. Thank
There
you.
you have it, fam. Words of wisdom from my sister here, Amelia, Ahosivi.
Thank
I'm
you.
still not gonna try your middle name because I don't want to keep it. Much love, sis. Thank you again, and yeah, that's us.
Thank you. It's been awesome. I
Awesome, right?
need a t-shirt like this too.
Oh, you need a t-shirt like this? You mean you need the t-shirt more than the no kissing book? All right, all right. I
Yes.
might hook you up.
Yes.
Might hook you up.
No. Hey, this no kissing book, it really shows why you don't want just no random coming up to you.
Okay.
I'm sorry.